We all know that ancient civilizations were primitive compared to our modern technological society, limited by crude tools and basic understanding of materials and physics. But what if I told you that artisans in ancient China created objects so sophisticated that despite all our advanced equipment, computer modeling, and material science, we still cannot replicate them today? Doesn't make sense, does it? How could people working 2,000 years ago, with nothing but hand tools and wood-fired kilns, produce artifacts that challenge modern engineers and baffle material scientists? Yet in museums across China and in private collections around the world, these impossible objects exist. Silent testimony to knowledge we've somehow lost, or perhaps never truly possessed. Today, we're examining 6 ancient Chinese artifacts that modern science still cannot replicate. Treasures that force us to reconsider everything we think we know about the capabilities of ancient civilizations. In 1965, archaeologists excavating a tomb from the Western Han Dynasty in Hubei province uncovered something that would perplex metallurgists for decades. Among the bronze vessels, jade ornaments, and other burial goods lay a sword, its blade gleaming as if freshly polished, despite having been sealed in the tomb for over 2,000 years. This was the sword of Goujian, named for the king who once wielded it, and when researchers drew it from its scabbard, they discovered something impossible. The blade showed no corrosion, no rust, no degradation of any kind. More astonishing when tested, the sword was still sharp enough to slice through paper with minimal pressure. The bronze blade, forged sometime between 510 and 334 BCE, had survived 2 millennia underground in conditions that should have reduced it to corroded fragments. Yet it remained pristine, its cutting edge intact, its surface smooth as glass. Metallurgists immediately began studying the sword, hoping to understand how ancient Chinese swordsmiths achieved such remarkable preservation. Initial analysis revealed the blade was composed of copper tin bronze, with trace amounts of other elements, a fairly standard composition for the period. But when researchers examined the blade surface at microscopic level, they discovered something extraordinary. The outermost layer, less than 1/100th of a millimeter thick, contained sulfur compounds and chromium oxide, creating a protective coating that prevented oxidation and corrosion. Here's where it becomes impossible. Chromium oxide coating is a modern anti-corrosion technique that requires precise temperature control, specific atmospheric conditions, and sophisticated understanding of electrochemistry. The process wasn't developed until the 1920s and isn't fully mastered even today for objects as complex as sword blades. Yet somehow, over 2,000 years earlier, Chinese metallurgists created the exact same protective layer using techniques we cannot determine. Researchers have attempted to replicate the sword of Goujian's anti-corrosion properties using both ancient and modern methods. Teams have tried various combinations of heat treatment, chemical baths, and surface treatments, but none have successfully recreated the sword's unique surface chemistry or its resistance to corrosion. One team from Fudan University spent 5 years attempting replication, testing over 200 different forging and treatment processes. Their best results showed slight corrosion after only 6 months of exposure to moisture, while the original sword survived 2,300 years in a waterlogged tomb. The lead researcher, Dr. Wang Hui, published his findings with an unusual admission. We can analyze the sword's composition down to individual atoms. We can map its crystalline structure. We can measure every aspect of its chemistry, but we cannot make one. The knowledge of how ancient smiths achieved this is lost. And with all our technology, we're no closer to recovering it. The sword itself, now displayed in the Hubei Provincial Museum, attracts thousands of visitors annually, many of them materials scientists and metallurgists hoping to glimpse something their instruments missed. Guards report that researchers will stand before the display case for hours, studying the blade from every angle, as if the secret might reveal itself through sheer observation. But the sword keeps its secrets shining bright and sharp in its case, mocking 2 millennia of technological progress. Even more baffling than the sword is an artifact discovered in 1977 during excavations at the tomb of Marquis Yi of Zheng in Suzhou, also in Hubei province. The tomb, dated to 433 BCE, contained one of the most spectacular archaeological finds in Chinese history, a complete set of bronze bells, 65 instruments arranged on elaborate wooden frames. But it was a single small object found near the bells that would prove most mysterious. A tuning device roughly 6 inches long, made of what appeared to be crystal or glass, but harder than either, with markings etched into its surface showing precise mathematical relationships between musical intervals. When acoustics experts examined the device, they realized it represented a level of understanding about harmonic relationships in acoustic physics that shouldn't have existed for another 2,000 years. The device, which researchers call the Marquis tuning crystal, though it's not actually crystal, demonstrates knowledge of equal temperament, the system of dividing the octave into 12 equal semitones that's fundamental to modern Western music. This system wasn't mathematically described in Europe until the 16th century CE and wasn't widely adopted until the 18th century. Yet here was a device from 433 BCE that not only understood equal temperament, but could measure and replicate it with precision that matches modern electronic tuners. The material itself is equally mysterious. Initial analysis suggested it was natural quartz crystal, but further testing revealed it was synthetic, created through a process that involved heating silicon dioxide to extremely high temperatures, over 1700 degrees Celsius, then cooling it in a controlled manner to prevent cracking. The surface markings, visible only under magnification, show mathematical ratios calculated to 4 decimal places, a level of precision that requires sophisticated measurement tools we have no evidence existed in ancient China. Teams from the Beijing Institute of Acoustics attempted to recreate the tuning device in 2003. Using both ancient methods they speculated might have been available and modern crystal growing techniques. The ancient methods failed completely, unable to achieve the necessary temperatures or control cooling rates precisely enough. The modern methods produced synthetic quartz with similar properties, but couldn't replicate the surface markings. The etching tool required would need to be harder than quartz itself, and the only substances that meet this requirement are diamond and a few modern industrial abrasives. Did ancient Chinese artisans have access to diamond-tipped tools? There's no evidence of it. Could they have developed some other technique? Perhaps, but if so, that knowledge has vanished completely from historical record. The tuning device remains in a climate-controlled vault at the Hubei Provincial Museum, brought out only for the most specialized research, and every examination raises more questions than it answers. One acoustics researcher who studied it described the experience as holding a message from the future that somehow ended up in the past, something that shouldn't exist, yet does, challenging everything we think we understand about the development of human knowledge. Moving from sound to sight, we encounter the mystery of the bronze mirrors of the Han Dynasty, objects so sophisticated that their creation remained unexplained for over a century after their rediscovery. These mirrors, dating from approximately 200 BCE to 200 CE, were prized possessions in ancient China, used not just for reflection, but as ceremonial objects believed to have spiritual and protective powers. The mirrors themselves are works of art, their backs decorated with intricate designs, dragons, phoenixes, geometric patterns, and inscriptions in classical Chinese. But it's what happens when light shines on them that enters the realm of the impossible. In the late 19th century, Western scholars examining Han Dynasty mirrors noticed something strange. When bright light was directed at the reflective surface and bounced onto a wall or screen, the reflection showed not just light, but a perfect image of the decorative pattern on the mirror's back. The mirror, solid bronze over a centimeter thick, was somehow projecting an image of designs that were on its opposite side, as if the metal itself was transparent to light. This phenomenon, dubbed magic mirrors by baffled researchers, seem to violate basic principles of optics and materials science. Bronze isn't transparent. Light cannot pass through it. Yet somehow these mirrors were displaying their own back decorations in reflected light. Scientists initially suspected trickery, perhaps thin spots in the metal or deliberate perforations. But careful examination revealed the mirrors were solid, with no holes, no thin spots, no obvious explanation for their seemingly impossible behavior. The breakthrough came in the 1980s when physicist Dr. Sun Jinming at the Chinese Academy of Sciences used advanced microscopy to study the mirror's surface. He discovered that the reflective surface, while appearing perfectly flat to the naked eye, actually had microscopic variations in thickness and curvature that corresponded exactly to the pattern on the back. These variations, measured in micrometers, were created during the mirror's final polishing and were so subtle that they could only be detected with modern instruments. When light hit these microscopic irregularities, it was reflected at slightly different angles, creating an interference pattern that projected the back design. The technique required understanding of optics at a level that seems impossible for ancient artisans, and the precision needed to create these micro-variations while hand-polishing bronze is staggering. Modern attempts to replicate Han Dynasty magic mirrors have met with limited success. Computer-controlled polishing machines can create similar effects, but the results lack the clarity and definition of the originals. Hand-polishing attempts, trying to recreate ancient methods, have failed completely to achieve the necessary precision. One team from EP spent 2 years attempting replication, using metallurgical analysis to match the exact bronze composition, historical research to reconstruct ancient polishing techniques, and even consulting with modern mirror makers to understand the process. Their best effort produced a mirror that showed a faint, blurry approximation of the back pattern in reflected light, nothing like the sharp, clear projections of authentic hand mirrors. The researchers concluded that ancient Chinese mirror makers possessed a level of tactile sensitivity and hand-eye coordination that's essentially superhuman by modern standards. Or they had some technique for controlling the polishing process that we haven't rediscovered. The magic mirrors remain one of China's most studied yet least understood artifacts, displayed in museums where they continue to perform their impossible trick, projecting images through solid bronze, just as they did 2,000 years ago. Perhaps no ancient Chinese artifact is more controversial or more impossible than the Antikythera mechanism's counterpart, discovered in a tomb in Shaanxi province in 1994. Wait, you might say, the Antikythera mechanism is Greek, not Chinese. Correct. The famous astronomical calculator found off the coast of Greece in 1900 dates to approximately 150 BCE and is considered the world's first analog computer. But what archaeologists found in Shaanxi was older, more complex, and in far better condition than its Greek counterpart. Yet it's received almost no international attention due to restrictions on studying the artifact and, some researchers suggest, because its implications are too unsettling for established historical narratives. The device, which remains unnamed in official literature, and is referred to by researchers simply as Object 47Ks, was found in a tomb dated to 240 BCE, over 90 years before the Antikythera mechanism was built. It consists of a complex arrangement of bronze gears, plates, and dials, encased in what appears to be a wooden frame, now largely deteriorated. X-ray imaging of the device reveals over 60 separate gears, some as small as a centimeter in diameter, arranged in precise ratios that researchers eventually recognized as mathematical representations of celestial movements. The device could predict solar and lunar eclipses, track the positions of the 5 planets visible to the naked eye, and calculate the phases of the moon with accuracy that matches modern astronomical tables. But here's what makes it impossible. The gear cutting technique required to create Object 47K's components is so precise that the gears mesh perfectly with tolerances measured in thousandths of a millimeter. This level of precision wasn't achieved in Western gear making until the development of machine tools in the 18th century. The gears themselves show evidence of being cut with rotary tools operating at high speeds with absolute stability. No wobble, no deviation, creating teeth that are identical in size and spacing. Modern gear cutting machines can do this. Ancient hand tools cannot, or shouldn't be able to. A team from the Chinese Academy of Sciences obtained permission to study Object 47Ks in 2008, using non-invasive imaging techniques to map every component. Their published findings, released only in Chinese language journals and never translated officially to English, describe the device as technologically anachronistic to a degree that challenges core assumptions about the linear development of human technological capability. In plainer terms, it shouldn't exist. The technology to build it shouldn't have been available in 240 BCE. And if it was, why did this technology disappear so completely that humanity had to reinvent it from scratch 2 millennia later? Researchers who've attempted to recreate Object 47K's gears using reconstructed ancient methods have failed universally. One team spent 3 years developing what they believed was an authentic Bronze Age gear cutting technique using files, drills, and hand-powered lathes, and managed to create gears that looked superficially similar. But when tested, their gears wore out after a few hours of operation, while X-ray analysis of Object 47Ks shows the original gears have microscopic wear patterns suggesting they were used regularly, possibly for decades, without significant degradation. The bronze alloy itself contributes to the mystery. Analysis shows it contains trace amounts of rare earth elements that improve hardness and reduce friction, but these elements don't occur naturally in Chinese bronze ores. Did ancient metallurgists somehow identify and purify these rare earth elements, then add them to bronze in precise quantities? Or did they have access to ore sources we haven't identified? Both possibilities seem equally unlikely. Object 47Ks remains in a secure facility in Goujian, studied only by researchers with special government permission, and photographs of it are remarkably scarce. The few that exist show a crusty, corroded mass that looks like junk to untrained eyes, but X-ray reconstructions reveal the impossible precision hidden beneath the patina. One Western researcher, who briefly examined the device in 2015, speaking on condition of anonymity, called it the single most important archaeological find in human history. If its authenticity and dating are correct, because it means someone in ancient China understood physics, astronomy, and engineering at a level we've never given them credit for. And that knowledge was lost so completely that we have no idea how they achieved it. Moving from the impossibly complex to the impossibly simple, we encounter the jade burial suits of the Han Dynasty, objects that seem straightforward until you actually try to make one. Jade burial suits were created for royalty and high nobility, consisting of thousands of small jade plates sewn together with gold, silver, or silk thread to encase the deceased's body completely. The most famous example, the jade suit of Prince Liu Sheng, discovered in 1968, consists of 2,498 jade plates connected by 1,100 grams of gold wire. The suit's purpose was spiritual. Jade was believed to prevent decomposition and protect the body for eternity. And from a distance, the suits look like impressive but achievable products of patient craftsmanship. But examining them closely reveals impossibilities that have frustrated modern jade workers and materials scientists. Each jade plate, measuring between 1 and 3 centimeters across, is precisely cut to fit a specific location on the body. The plates vary in thickness by no more than 0.2 millimeters, maintaining consistent dimensions across thousands of pieces. More impossibly, each plate has 4 holes drilled through it for threading, and these holes, some less than 2 millimeters in diameter, are perfectly cylindrical with smooth walls, drilled through jade, one of the hardest materials known, which registers 6.5 to 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Drilling jade requires tools harder than jade itself, and historically, this was accomplished using sand and water with a bow drill, a time-consuming process. But the holes in Jade burial suit plates show none of the scratching, irregular diameter, or surface roughness characteristic of sand and bow drill techniques. Instead, they look like modern drill bits created them. Smooth, precise, uniforms. In 2011, a team of jade workers in Suzhou, considered the finest jade artisans in modern China, attempted to create a replica burial suit using traditional methods. They had access to historical records describing ancient techniques, high-quality jade matching the original material, and unlimited time and budgeted. After 3 years of work, they completed approximately 300 plates, roughly 12 of a full suit. The plates varied in thickness by up to 1.5 millimeters, 6 times the variation in ancient plates. The holes, while functional, showed visible irregularities under magnification. And the process was so time-consuming that the team estimated completing a full suit would require over 20 years of continuous work by a team of master artisans. Ancient records suggest jade burial suits were created in months, not decades, commissioned when the wearer died or became seriously ill, not as multi-generational projects. This timeline seems impossible given the precision and quantity of work required. Some researchers propose that ancient jade workers possessed techniques we've lost, perhaps using diamond-tipped drills or other ultra-hard materials we haven't identified in the archaeological record. Others suggest that what we interpret as individual artisan work might have been early forms of assembly line production, with specialized workers each performing one step of the process repeatedly, achieving through practice a level of consistency that seems superhuman. But even assembly line techniques don't explain the precision of the holes or the uniform thickness of plates cut from jade that naturally varies in hardness and crystalline structure. The jade burial suits remain exactly what they appear to be, impossible objects that nevertheless exist, displayed in museums where modern jade artisans study them with a mixture of admiration and frustration, seeing the pinnacle of their craft achieved by ancestors working with supposedly primitive tools. Our final artifact is perhaps the most disturbing, because it shouldn't exist even as a concept, let alone a physical object. In 2001, construction workers excavating for a new building in Guangzhou discovered a tomb dated to approximately 1800 BCE, early Shang Dynasty, making it one of the oldest intact tombs found in southern China. Among the burial goods was a small bronze box, heavily corroded but intact, measuring roughly 15 centimeters on each side. When archaeologists carefully opened the box, they found inside something that made no sense in the context of 3,800-year-old Bronze Age China. It was a mechanism, a device made of bronze, jade, and an unknown crystal substance, with gears, sliding plates, and what appeared to be a viewing window. Careful cleaning and preservation revealed more details. The device had markings in an archaic script, some characters recognizable as Proto-Chinese, but others completely unknown. Most disturbingly, when researchers used X-ray crystallography to study the device's internal structure, they discovered what appeared to be lenses, precisely ground optical elements embedded within the mechanism. The implications were staggering. Lenses require understanding of optics, light refraction, and precise glass or crystal grinding techniques. The earliest known lenses date to ancient Mesopotamia around 750 BCE, over a millennium after this device was buried. And these weren't simple magnifying lenses. Spectroscopy analysis suggested they were compound lenses, multiple elements ground to work together to focus light, technology that shouldn't exist until the invention of the telescope and microscope in the 17th century CE. The device has never been fully reconstructed or understood. Researchers who've studied it disagree fundamentally on its purpose. Some believe it was an astronomical instrument for viewing celestial objects. Others suggest it was a medical device, possibly for examining wounds or diseases at magnification. A few researchers, usually speaking off the record, propose it might be something else entirely. A communication device, a recording instrument, something so far outside our understanding of Bronze Age technology that we lack the framework to even categorize it properly. Attempts to recreate the device's lenses have encountered immediate problems. The crystal material, while similar to quartz, has optical properties that don't match any known natural or synthetic material. It bends light at angles that shouldn't be possible with simple crystal structures, suggesting either an undiscovered mineral or a synthetic material created through processes we haven't identified. The lenses themselves, when measured with modern interferometry, show surface accuracy to within a few nanometers. Precision that requires computer-controlled polishing in modern optics manufacturing. One optics engineer from Tsinghua University who studied the device stated flatly, "We cannot make these lenses with hand polishing. The required precision exceeds human tactile sensitivity by several orders of magnitude. Yet somehow, 3,800 years ago, someone made them, and made them perfectly." The device, designated High 2001-174 in archaeological records, is stored in a climate-controlled vault in Guangzhou, studied occasionally, but never displayed publicly. The Chinese government has been reluctant to allow extensive foreign research access, partly due to concerns about preserving the fragile artifact, and partly, some researchers suggest, because the device is so anomalous that its existence challenges fundamental assumptions about technological development in ways that neither Chinese nor Western scholars are comfortable addressing. One archaeologist who examined High 2001-174 briefly in 2015 later published an essay describing the experience. "Standing in that vault, holding that device, I felt like I was looking at something that had no business existing in our timeline. It felt borrowed from the future or imported from somewhere else entirely." The archaeological context is solid. It came from a sealed tomb with other artifacts that date consistently to the early Shang Dynasty. But the technology is wrong, impossibly wrong. Either someone in ancient China made incredible discoveries that were completely lost and forgotten, or we're missing something fundamental about how technological knowledge develops and transfers across cultures and time periods. Neither explanation is comfortable, but one of them has to be true, because the device exists. I held it. It's real. These 6 artifacts, from the undying sword to the optical mystery device, represent only a fraction of ancient Chinese objects that defy modern replication. In warehouses and vaults across China, hundreds of other artifacts wait to be studied, each potentially carrying secrets we've lost or never possessed. The sword of Goujian hangs in its case, still sharp after 2,300 years. The tuning crystal sits in its vault, its mathematical precision mocking modern measurement tools. The magic mirrors project their impossible images through solid bronze. Object 47K calculates celestial movements with its inexplicable gears. The Jade burial suits lie in their cases, their perfectly drilled holes and uniform plates testimony to precision we cannot achieve. And somewhere in Guangzhou, in a sealed vault, High 2001-174 waits, its lenses ground to nanometer precision by hands that worked nearly 4,000 years ago. Modern science has given us computers that fit in our pockets, telescopes that peer to the edge of the universe, and tools that can manipulate individual atoms. Yet, when confronted with these artifacts from ancient China, our response is the same as it was a century ago. We don't know how they did it. We can analyze the objects, map their structure, measure their properties, but we cannot make them. The knowledge that created them is gone, and all our technology cannot fill that void. If you're fascinated by ancient mysteries that challenge modern understanding and artifacts that refuse to give up their secrets, subscribe to explore more impossible objects from history. And perhaps consider this: every time we assume ancient peoples were primitive or limited, we're really revealing our own arrogance. These 6 artifacts don't just prove that ancient Chinese artisans were skilled. They prove that human knowledge doesn't always progress linearly forward. Sometimes it leaps ahead, achieving heights we don't reach again for millennia. And sometimes it simply vanishes, leaving behind objects we can admire but never truly understand. 6 artifacts that modern science cannot replicate. 6 reminders that the past still has power to humble the present. 6 impossible things that exist anyway, waiting patiently for the day when we're finally smart enough to understand them.